As ready as you're ever be. Hi everybody, how you going today? Right on. We are the Jackalopes of Fire. We're a local podcasting team here in Austin, North Austin. My name is Chuck. This is my sister Priscilla. She's my co-host. We're here today to talk a little bit about, as you can see, breaking the stereotype, females in comics. And not just in comics, but also the fans of the comics and what they're stereotyped as, and let's kind of change what that perception is a little bit. To get us rolling, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay, well, obviously I'm female and a comic fan.
Really?
Yes, really. I know, it's hard to believe.
Couldn't tell. All the Loki here.
Right? Huge Loki fan. So I have always been a little bit into comics. I've been a Supergirl fan since I was about 3 or 4. And I've gotten out of it after Crisis because in my mind, Kara Zor-El is Supergirl. She is the only Supergirl, so I wasn't a fan of the whole Matrix Linda Danvers thing. When she came back in 2002, I got back into comic books. He's always been into comics, so he kind of educated me about the other characters aside from Kara. And I got more and more into it, and as I got into it and started writing fan fiction and getting into the conventions and everything, I noticed that there was definitely a difference in the way female comic fans were treated as opposed to male comic fans. There's a definite distinction there. And so over the last several years, I've kind of been pondering it and what we can do to change it. And in some ways, I feel like women actually make it harder on ourselves. So I think that some of it goes both ways. So this is just a little bit about my observations and what I think about it. Because I think we can all agree there's definitely some stereotypes here. And so this is my take on that. First, the stereotypical comic book fan. That's pretty much it. Male, 25 to 35, socially awkward, no romantic life.
Why does it look like me?
And here we have a stereotypical comic book fan.
Worst panel ever.
And so when you go into some random place and say, hey, what do you think of a comic book fan? This is usually the type of perception you're going to get. Why does the stereotype exist? And
You don't have to get into it. Just bring it up.
the stereotype, in my opinion, exists because of the way the mainstream shows, I can't think of the word, shows comic fans in shows like Big Bang Theory, which he will disagree with me on. But in my opinion...
Well, now hang on. To be fair, I told you that when you first presented this concept to me, you weren't specifying female.
Yes.
That's why I disagree in the first place. I will agree that even Big Bang Theory, which I love, it is disproportionate. They don't show females. They don't really show the quote unquote nerds and geek females the way they do the males.
The show started with a pretty blonde not knowing anything about comic books. And even when they did add other female characters that were smart and nerdy, they weren't comic book fans. Only the men. And they mocked the men.
Right, and they mocked the men a lot until the one episode where the girls actually, they said, okay, we don't understand it, let's see if we can figure it out. So they did, they got comic books and they ended up having an argument about Thor's hammer. It's actually a very funny episode. And it does show that even the stereotypical pretty blonde and the 2 nerd girls can also get into comics if given the opportunity.
Yes, but that's not the premise of the show.
You're right.
And not the way it's portrayed. There's the word I was looking for, portrayed. The way comic fans are portrayed, that's from South Park, the World of Warcraft episode. Not comic book, but in the same vein. That's the way gamers, comic book geeks are generally portrayed. Going back to Big Bang Theory, that's when they were in the comic book shop. And they look completely lost.
Yeah, and the other side of the scene is the way the men in the comic shop are perceiving these unknown creatures, these females that walked into their den of iniquity. It's almost like they're trespassing it. Oh my God, what do we do? There are women in here.
Like women don't belong in comic shops.
Right. Which, let's face it, we know that's not true.
No. But that's the way a lot of
Matter of fact, my mother got me into comics.
that I do not know. I'll talk more about that later. But women are seen as foreign if they're in a comic book shop. They're outsiders trying to get in. That's the way it's seen in the media. Obviously, this is starting to go down some, but that's still heavily the perception of it. A lot of men see a cosplaying female as an imposter in their world. If she's cosplaying, she's not a real geek, she's just trying to pick up guys in the pool. When that's not the case, I don't cosplay to get male attention at all. I do it because I'm a fan of the character and it's fun. So, what?
I'm sorry, I'm reading the crime.
Oh,
Flooding Tumblr with bad names and keeping Big Bang Theory on the air. Hey!
Not to say that some women don't do it, like this next one is obviously not Batgirl. That's the way we've seen that women cosplay. In comic books, we're starting to see things like this. They completely changed the character of Star Sapphire to make her a more sexual-based character. When not a huge Starfire fan, but even I know that wasn't her original intent.
Yeah, Starfire actually had some depth, and when New 52 came out, this is what she amounts to, a bikini model. Now, I haven't, to be fair, I haven't read it recently, so if you've read it recently and it's changed, that's fine. But this is, for the first 6 months of the New 52, this was Starfire. Just a bikini model and nothing more. She was eye candy. And that even as a male reader, I went, okay, that's ridiculous. It's one thing to show the female form, and and sexualize it a little bit. It's kind of expected, but give the character some depth at least.
Right. It was out of character then, and she really had no character.
Right.
Other roles that women commonly take in comic books, the damsel in distress, which there's nothing wrong with that per se. I mean, somebody's got to be rescued. But when that is the sole point of the female character, that is her sole purpose, is to be rescued over and over and over, kind of takes any strength out of the character.
And and this one in particular always gets me is because Lois became that again. She started as kind of a damsel, but very quickly developed into her own character throughout the entire run of Superman. But again, New 52 comes along, and her role is changed completely.
Another strong female character that turned back into a damsel in distress anymore. A caretaker, someone who's there to patch up the hero after he gets wounded in battle. Eye candy. That's Harley's new costume. And this pretty much sums it up. Is how women are seen in the comic book world a lot of times. We're there to appease the men. That is our role. We can't possibly be comic book fans of our own right and have our own favorite characters. That just doesn't happen. We see it in toys that are marketed to little girls. Princesses. That's what a little girl is expected to play with. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I myself love Disney princesses and Barbies. I still collect Barbies. There's nothing wrong with it except for the fact that that is what girls are expected to play with. That's what's marketed to them. That's the commercials you see on cartoons. My Little Pony. So
Is that supposed to be ponies?
that's the
I don't recognize that at all.
that's the human version.
Okay.
Then you have toys marketed to women, absolutely none. If you look up, I actually did this. If you go to Google Images and type in toys for girls, you get Barbie, princesses, toys for boys, trucks, Nerf, etc. Toys for men, you will actually get action figures and stuff. Type in toys for women, it's all sexually related. We are starting to disprove the stereotype, and it's great. We have a girl in a comic book store that is clearly having fun, not overly sexualized. We can go into a comic book store just the same as a male and have just as much fun goofing around, picking up comic books, cosplaying a character correctly. This next one is actually some of my past cosplays. I've done different cosplays for different characters. Every single one of them isn't for any other reason other than I'm a huge fan. We are starting to see, and I love this, I actually have that toy. It's a Nerf bow for girls that's pretty and pink, but still a weapon. A girl can be powerful and pretty. We're seeing more little heroine figures marketed at little girls. I don't see these a lot, but they exist, which is the first step. They have to exist before they can get out there. We're seeing strong females in movies finally. I loved seeing her in Avengers. I thought her role in Avengers was amazing.
Yes, so did
A very strong female.
What?
And I love the part where she tricks Loki by playing on being a female, pretending she's weaker than she is. She uses the stereotype and to be strong. We've seen some heroes in Marvel, Captain Marvel and the new Thor, both female. That's a huge step. But even though we've taken a lot of strides, we still have a very long way to go.
I think the interesting thing here is the difference between what Marvel's doing and what DC is doing.
Yeah, there's a big difference in Marvel and DC when it comes to the roles of females right now. Absolutely.
And Marvel is embracing the female hero in the right way, whereas DC is not.
I actually have a quote on this next slide from DC that I think pretty much sums up how out of touch they are with the female fandom. Their idea of having Clark and Diana together was because they think females want romance, or as they put it, to hit the Twilight audience. And I think that very concept shows how out of touch DC actually is with what we want to see in our comic books. I actually know very few people that like Clark and Diana together. It's not a pairing that works very well, in my opinion. It feels very forced. He belongs with Lois, and DC is so set on having their Twilight romance that they don't see that. You'd agree with that? The pairing just doesn't.
Oh yeah, no. As a longtime Superman fan, it's Lois or it just doesn't work.
Right.
Lana when he was young, Lois as an adult. That's the way it's supposed to be.
And DC is.
Go for it.
Did you feel the same way when it was Cyclops and Emma Frost versus Cyclops and Jean Grey back a few years ago?
I am that way. It should always be Cyclops and Jean, unless Jean happens to be dead at the moment.
And
If it's one of the times that she's dead, it's okay.
It's a different female character, or is it because that's the way it's always been, that's the way it always should be? Because I don't know. I know that this what I'm saying is contrary to what that says directly, but I don't know if it's necessarily because of that in its entirety, or in order to break that stereotype of the damsel in distress, or Jean is always dying. She comes back stronger, but I mean,
She does die a lot.
she does a lot.
In my personal opinion, see if I can phrase this. It's all about how it's written. If you write the story well, then it doesn't matter who is with whom, as long as it's written well. The at least the Cyclops and Emma Frost stuff was, for the most part, written fairly well. It was laid out properly, it made sense, it flowed properly. This was not. The whole Superman and Wonder Woman being put together, like she said, it feels very forced, and it's nothing more than fan service, but they're servicing the wrong fans. They're not servicing the majority of fans, they're servicing a very small portion of the fan base. And I think that's where the mistake is. It's not necessarily because of who it is, it's because of the way it's written. I think that's my problem with it. She may have a different problem, I don't know. I see a hand, go ahead.
I'm curious what you think about, though, in the presentation of their relationship, stereotypically we say women are the needy ones in the relationship. And in the book, when they do have relationship conversations, it's always like Clark wanting to talk about feelings and love.
Right, Clark is taking the more.
I'm not like
Yeah, exactly. It is a bit of a flip, and I like that concept. I do. But they don't do enough with that. And it's the biggest problem that I'm seeing at DC right now, and my only hope is that it will change eventually, is it's not necessarily about the concepts that they're addressing, it's how they're addressing them and how they're writing. Their whole writing style, as a company, has been very diluted and has become almost painful to read.
And a lot of it, this quote being an example, the reasoning behind some of their decisions
Right.
shows that they're out of touch with the fans in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yes?
How much of this movie stuff have you guys actually read? Did you read the Superman comic?
I actually read the first 2 years of New 52 and was done. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm done. The only thing I've read more recently is I'm starting to read the Robin Rises because that's an interesting concept and I want to see how they do it. So if you've read it, don't tell me, no spoilers. And so, and I will say that, to be fair, I haven't picked up a DC book except for those in a while because they have irritated me to the point where I'm no longer a DC fan. And that hurts me in my soul because I've always been a Superman fan. And what they have changed just completely ruined the books for me. And I gave it a long time and finally said, you know what, I'm done.
Whereas I more recently started reading this stuff. I didn't for a while. I would skim books because I wanted to buy them. So I'd look through them and see, and there was just, I couldn't. I recently started picking up Batman Eternal because they brought Stephanie Brown back, and I love her. So I've been reading started reading some other New 52 books, and so I've been reading it lately, and I'm still not impressed with what I've seen, with the exception of some of the Red Lantern stuff. That's about it. So I too want to read the Robin stuff because I'm hoping that'll be good. We'll see how that goes.
And let's face it, writing, it's going to ebb and flow. You're going to have your bad years, you're going to have your good years. There was a time when Marvel was atrocious. There was nothing good going on in Marvel for years. And then they started coming back. And so I'm expecting DC to figure it out and get back on track. I just hope it happens before the company has to fold. So we'll just have to wait and see. And again, these are my opinions. You don't have to agree.
And actually, speaking of New 52, we have some examples of some of the other changes to females within New 52. The costumes that we've seen. And in Amanda Waller's case, the whole look of the character changed. We lost some of the strongest female characters to New 52. I know Stephanie Brown is back now, but she was gone for a long time. We still don't have Donna Troy, Mia Dierner. They changed Barbara Gordon entirely. We don't have Oracle anymore. And from what I've seen, I don't think this New 52 version of Barbara has what it takes to be Oracle, even if she wanted to be.
when they first released Barbara's new book, they definitely had taken away a lot of the, well, for lack of a better term, brain power that you associated with Oracle. It's what made her, it's something that you and I talked about a lot. Barbara was a stronger character as Oracle than she was as Batgirl, because she took that disability, being stuck in that wheelchair, and turned it into a strong point for her. She managed to still make a difference in Gotham and the world from the wheelchair.
Absolutely. I think Oracle is, in a lot of ways, a much more inspirational character than she was with Batgirl.
Absolutely.
Or is.
And Stephanie Brown was making a perfectly functional Batgirl. She was good at what she was doing. She was being written well. She was making an interesting
And I think
foil for Batman and Tim as well.
And I think having Oracle in her mentor role to Stephanie worked very well.
Yeah.
It was two strong females, basically carrying on the tradition of Batgirl together.
Right, but then Dan did give a little spark there, so Barbara's not Batgirl. And I don't have a problem with Barbara being Batgirl. I just wish they hadn't dumped her down a bit. In some cases, a lot.
Right. Now that said, there are things that I think that we can do to break the stereotypes. Be vocal. If you're a female comic book fan, don't hide in the shadows or be a closet fan. If that's who you are, be proud of who you are and express who you are. The only way that it's going to change it is they know we're here. This next one is one that I feel strongly about. I've gotten some pushback on. Some people agree, some people don't. This is just my opinion. I think one of the people that has actually hurt the cause of women the most is Gail Simone. She's written Birds of Prey, she's written Batgirl, she's kind of behind the whole women in refrigerator thing. I feel like she jumps on everything and misconstrues things to the point that it makes the whole feminist movement and comics not be taken seriously because we pick on every little thing. I'm probably one of the few females that thinks the whole women in the refrigerator concept is a little ridiculous. For those that don't know, it started because Green Lantern, thank you.
Kyle Rayner.
I'm thinking Green Ranger. Green Lantern Kyle Rayner found his girlfriend Alex stuck in a refrigerator. And a lot of females took that, including Gail Simone, took that and ran with it as, well, that was Alex's only purpose. She was stuck in a refrigerator, she served no purpose. I don't see it that way. I see it as she was used as a character to help Kyle have character growth as the main character in his book. She was a supporting character. It could have worked just the same if it had been a female hero and a male sub-character, supporting character. So,
Well, okay, but do you believe that, let's use real life concepts here.
okay.
Let's use Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. Do you believe that if Wonder Woman had come home and found Steve Trevor stuffed into a refrigerator, do you think that ever would have been written?
I think it's a possibility. I think stuff has happened to Steve Trevor for the sake of making Wonder Woman stronger. Yes, I do.
But I don't think that anybody would have expected to see a male character treated the same way that this female character was. I actually tend to agree with the concept of this was a bad move.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't a bad move. I'm saying that the outrage was a little bit too harsh for what it was.
I think that they took this one incident and used it to create a buzz that may have been overblown. But they had a valid point to start,
Yes,
in my opinion.
I will agree with that. Oh, we have a question.
What do you think of the Deadman defrosting trope then?
Say it again?
Dead Men Defrosting, when Gail had a similar criticism, she started a whole second other list called Dead Men Defrosting, which was when male killer characters are killed off, brought back, and then have more powers and are stronger because of their own death, instead of all of these female characters who just died and are still dead.
Yeah, and Superman would be an
Yeah,
example
as
of that.
well as Spider-Man and Hal Jordan and just all of these other characters.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point.
That is
I had
valid.
not heard of that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
I
That's
actually
a
have
valid
heard
point.
that, not in a while, until she mentioned it, I had just completely forgotten about that.
And let's face it, she's right in that sense. There are a lot of characters out there that are killed off, and they are primarily male. Jean Grey is probably the only one that I can immediately come up with that, as a female, has died multiple times and come back stronger every single time that I can remember. So she's probably the one to break the rule normally, but typically the females don't get treated with that kind of respect.
No, and I'm not denying that females in comic books, in fact, that's what I've said from the start of this, there's definitely some difference there. However, I think that we tend to jump on every little thing instead of looking at the whole story. We jump on any little thing, and this is a good example. You and I have talked about this a lot on the podcast from the time it started.
Yeah.
The Spider-Woman cover was a very controversial thing that I think got blown way out of proportion.
The problem that I have with this is that, and I see it, we will get to you in just a second. The problem that I have with this is the outrage that was presented over the Milo Manera cover. I think, and again, this is me personally, I think part of it is because of Milo's past work. Milo Manera is known as an adult artist. And so when he drew this, people immediately latched onto that, I think, and that kind of made the whole situation worse. Because it's obvious, and this is only one example, there are multiple shots of Peter in the exact same pose. And I actually found one time that was actually the exact same angle and everything. It was an almost, pixel for pixel match. And there's no outrage over that over Peter, but there is over, it's Spider-Woman, but I can't think of her real name. Thank you, Jessica. Just went out of my head. But there is outrage over that. It's because it's a female and because it's Milo Manera drawing it. That's my opinion.
I would agree.
I'll win back first.
It's not because of Milo Manera's work, I don't care what you do before that, it's because the way that the athletes are presented, like people actually didn't answer like what her role would look like if she could actually try to do that, and it's physically impossible even with 2 hours, as opposed to every way that Peter is drawn, it's a little bit more possible, yeah, it's a little odd, but the main outrage isn't just the one that's through, it's the continuation of women being drawn this way, but nobody can fix it. It's all the Hawkeye initiative. Anybody? There you go. The Hawkeye initiative. If you've seen that, every single female on the time, but a lot of people on the covers in books, the way they're presented, they're doing these things, they're like jumping on a barrel, shooting guns. You don't need to shoot the gun in the crotch. And then you're all with a male superhero with a thing, and people are like, oh, that's silly. Well, yes, it's silly. Why are you going to keep up with this thing? It's a continuation. It's not just one. It's not just, it's the fact that Scarlet Witch is on. It's the fact that Split Woman is on. It's come to one thing where we're kind of just like, no, this is ridiculous. Please stop. So it's that particular image is, you can see. And so it's not.
She tried hard not to say that.
It's just that because I think more women are talking about it, and it's I more like, oh no, but you don't get it. It's because I'm tired of that being what as a compliment is expected.
Okay, then what would you rather see?
I would rather suggest here, not the main focus of that picture is not the face, it's not the muscle, it's not the power, it's her body. That is the main focus of the picture.
I told her that.
That is what we're supposed to focus on. And that doesn't come from here. When you look at the Spider-Man on right next to it, the middle of the picture, all the focus goes to his face. Much more important, you go into someone's and the eyes, when there's this whole community, your eye. I would rather be seen drawn climbing a skyscraper, not crouched over, actually climbing it like she's climbing it. Make it where female focus isn't just on our extremity, but actually on the power that they have.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
That's. I did see you over here, but we got one more.
No, I was just gonna say, well, what is your opinion on the Hawkeye initiative? She kind of covered that one.
That works. Thank you very much.
I'm
I'm all right with that. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned that Spider-Man has been drawn similarly, I can't see today, but he's been drawn in similar positions. However, when you see a picture of Spider-Man like that, he's not being sexualized. Whereas, I can pretty much with 100% certainty say that every female character at some point or another has been drawn in a way that brings focus to her chest or her bottom or like cleavage or whatever, or like bearing midriff in costumes. That's for the male gaze. That picture of Spider-Man is also for the male gaze. However, that male gaze is to focus on his muscles.
That's powerful.
Yeah, when women are shown like that, it's because men want to sleep with her. When men are shown like that in comics, it's because men want to be that vision of a hero. So Spider-Man is not sexualized. And that's why even when you find them in similar positions, it's not the same thing at all.
But the male and female body is different anyway. I mean, women are more graceful, sleek-looking creatures in general. So our art is going to look different. We're not going to look the same as a male would.
But that's not sleek. And it's not even like powerful sexy. Women's bodies don't do that. A man drew that of a woman to sexualize a woman. That's not what women look like. Her hip proportion is ridiculous. Her head is like I don't have a problem when women wear, like, a great example is Black Widow in Captain America. She's got the full spandex bodysuit, but there's a reason for that. It's because she's a spy. She needs to get in and out of tight places. She's got pockets for stuff. She doesn't have her zipper like halfway down to her navel. It's sexy, but it has a purpose. The only purpose, it's not functional. It's for the male gaze, which is what I have a problem with.
You are 100% correct.
Yes, absolutely. And I said that all along. I don't mind a sexy costume if it fits with the character. Like, Supergirl's costume doesn't bother me as much because she's super powered. She doesn't need armor. She can dress however she wants. Wouldn't make sense for a Batgirl to be in a sexy costume because she died. She needs armor. So it's got to go with the character. I completely agree with that.
The main argument against that book is that it's directly taken from pornographic images. You can go on any search engine and you will find that. It's not just that, it's a direct association with submissive female and anal sex. It's not just that women have more gracile features and that, you know, you're going to draw them curvier. It's that you can go online, you can find a picture of someone like Nicki Minaj, a porn star, or Rihanna, or whoever, and they're acting from the air, and that indicating that here I am as a sex object. It's not just, you know, that they're prettier, which they try to take every female, like, imagery that we find attractive and distorted it into something rather disgusting, I think, in that image. The lips, the Michael Jackson nose. You don't see her eyes. I mean, that's obviously the thing.
Didn't even notice
The
that.
male Spider-Man has a very large eye, but you still can't see them.
Yeah.
The hair is flowing. It's just, you know, every stereotype plus directly from porn. And that association that you don't have with the male one.
No, you're absolutely right. It is obvious that the artist drew this for that reason. It is actually obvious. The point point of pointing it out is to get people to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And you're absolutely correct. It is a ridiculous picture. I think that some of the outrage did go a little too far. However, it's, as you stated so eloquently, it's the tipping point. This is the, what's that?
It's strong and broken.
Yeah, exactly. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. Absolutely.
And I think that that's a lot of where my problem with it comes from is how far some of it goes. And not everybody, we've had some really good points made in here. I'd love to talk with some of y'all individually. I think we've had a great conversation. Not everybody makes their points as eloquently as some of y'all. We've had some really good points in here. I'm enjoying this a lot.
One more, and then we need to go on to the next slide.
I kind of want to make a point on this. There's a difference between women using their sexuality to their power and to their strength and sexualization of women.
You're right.
Yeah, it's kind of going back when you were saying about right and wrong cosplay. I feel as if a woman is cosplaying something, she's doing it with sexuality as her power. She's using it to her advantage and she's strengthening herself with it rather than her being sexualized. So what are your opinions on that?
You're the cosplayer.
I think it depends on the female. Different females have different reasons behind their cosplay. I can speak for myself in that the only reason I cosplay is because it's fun. I do try to make my costumes pretty that fit my body type and style, but I don't do it to attract male attention or anything. Yesterday, if anybody saw Star Sapphire Supergirl walking around, that was me. I liked the pretty pink. I did that as my own thing because I never liked Supergirl as a Red Lantern. I thought Star Sapphire fit the character much better. So I made a Star Sapphire Supergirl because that was my interpretation of the character. I did it because I'm such a fan of Kara. Some females may do it to be sexy, to feel sexy. I couldn't speak to that because that's not my reason for doing it.
Me in particular, I'm okay with anybody cosplaying for whatever reason they have. I think that there does need to be a defining line between cosplay and wearing a costume. It's not Halloween. There is a difference. But that being said, whether you're male or female, you dress up how you want. You do what's comfortable for you. You do what you think looks good, and to heck with what anybody else says. You know, if you're comfortable in your own skin and you're okay with what you're wearing when you walk out that door, more power to you. That's the way to go.
I think cosplaying is about being comfortable in your own skin.
Right. The images of the Batgirl cosplay, it's not about that. It's not about her making the wrong choice about her choice of costume. That's the perception that a lot of people have about the stereotypical female cosplayer. You don't see a lot of images of male cosplayers over-sexualizing whatever character they're dressed as. You see that more with females, and that is starting to become, or in years past has been, the perception. Okay, if you're going to be a female, then you have to look like whatever. And then you see the males, and they're more accurate to the characters. But you do see females that choose to be more accurate to the character that they are cosplaying as.
And we make those costumes ourselves because it's that time of year. If you walk into a Halloween store, you're not going to find an accurate female hero costume. It's just not going to happen.
Let's move on, because we're already running out of time.
Yes. Something else that I think that we can do to show that we're out there. Buy merchandise. If you love a character, show support for them. I said this one already, but it bears repeating. Be proud of who you are. Be a comic fan. Yes.
I had heard that Young Avengers was canceled because more girls were watching it than guys.
That what?
Yes.
Avengers.
Young Justice, yeah.
I mean, how do we go about, buying Warner's and showing our love for it when they cancel it because we love it?
That's not exactly why it was canceled. It was canceled due to poor toy sales. It was a cartoon on Cartoon Network. It was basically a 30-minute toy commercial. If the toys had been sold, it'd still be on the air.
Right.
That's where buying merchandise comes in. You have to support it so they're making money at it. If they're making money, they're not going to get rid of it.
That's why you don't see more toys. Traditionally, women don't really buy that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. We
So,
do see the hands, but we do have to wrap it up. I do apologize.
something else we can do. The next generation of females. We have, you can get a hero, a princess. I love the ones that mix it together. There's nothing wrong with a girl being a princess and a superhero. We can be whatever. We can do both. One of the coolest things I ever saw, I was in Walmart in Cedar Park, and it's a self-checkout, and I saw this little girl walk by. She had on a pink Supergirl cape and a princess tiara, both. I loved that. I thought that was the coolest thing. There's no reason that a girl can't be a pretty princess and a strong hero.
And as the last female of her race, doesn't that automatically make her the princess of the race? I think it works perfectly.
That's basically it. That's who we are. We have a couple more minutes, so we can take a couple more comments or questions if there's any.
Now's your chance. Go ahead.
On the issue of making noise, Marvel actually has a Twitter handle for Women of Marvel. If you want to request toys or something about the comics that they're listening, I've met some of the people that monitor that. They're looking for what females or what interests we have in comics, what we think needs to change.
And they actually said one of the Marvel panel in San Diego, part of the reason Captain Marvel, the comic, has stuck around is because they went to shows and women were dressed as Captain Marvel. They were out there saying, we love this character.
It goes back to showing your interest, show we're out there.
It also goes back to Marvel.
I was gonna say,
Better than
it goes
DC.
back to Marvel handling it better than DC. I'm a huge DC girl. In fact, I've only gotten into Marvel since New 52 started. And until then, I was sold DC. So it further shows how it makes me very sad that DC is handling it the way it is, because there's so many amazing DC females that are just not being handled correctly. Yes.
I think one of us will be like the next Marvel. I mean, but I think Marvel also has more creators than each does, and they're given more creative license with what they're allowed to do, what writing what they want. So in that, they are allowed to basically the DC or after our there are one. So they have more people involved in creative process, not a lot, but more, and more will be better. So I think another thing like Marvel kind of thinking is that they have more interactions.
I would agree with that, and I think you can say that about Marvel in general with their creators. DC has very tight reins, I feel. I feel like Dan Didio really has a hand in everything, and it shows. Marvel allows all of their creators more freedom, and I think that's why Marvel in general is putting out better books right now, is because they do allow that creative freedom. And so that applies to male and female writers. But yes, definitely, and they are handling females much better. I haven't read a lot of it, but I've read some of the Captain Marvel stuff, and it's very good. I very much have liked what I've read from it. Some of the better written books. But again, Marvel in general is just overall, I feel being written better. We can take one
Last one. Yeah, go for it.
So we talked about like women in comics in general, but what about like different types of women? Like for me, I'm not really busty and I'm kind of small, and a lot of times I see this like perfect like kind of tall with a big bust, with huge hips kind of thing. When there's so many different types of women that they could be portraying, like small and petite or like large and like muscular kind of thing. So what's your take on just like the different types of women they could be drawing versus the stereotypical thing that they are drawing?
There's definitely not enough diversity out there.
There is
some. Jubilee is one of my favorite characters that speaks exactly to that. She is a petite character, very short, not as busty as some of the other superheroines out there. And she has always been a very fascinating character. But there is not enough diversity. There's some, but not enough. She-Hulk is the other end of that spectrum. She's a big, powerful woman, and they're not afraid to show that she is both powerful and feminine. I think they've done well with She-Hulk over the years.
And that goes into there being some, but still having a long way to go.
Yes.
We have made progress, there is no doubt.
Absolutely.
The fact that there are so many females in this room and that we're even having this discussion, that we can have different opinions and respect each other and listen and have an open dialogue shows how far we've come. So we've definitely made progress. We still have a ways to go. But I see the change and it's headed in a positive direction, I feel.
With that being said, that's all the time we have.
That
We
is.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Join us at Jackalopes of Fire.com. We do have a YouTube channel as well. We do this on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah. And
Semi-regular.
we have another panel later today about fan fiction at 5:30.
Yeah, we will be back in this room at 5:30.